So this is part two of my Saturday racing review show. Obviously going to be looking at the Royal Randwick meeting. If you haven't already done so, go check out part one where I looked at Morphettville and Caulfield. Both meetings there and the runners to follow out of that. So keep an eye. And at the end of this video, I'll be answering the questions from some of you on social media. And like I said, in the future, if any of you want to get involved that aren't on social media, feel free to ask me questions. Post the races on my racing preview videos. So just go back on, click on them, leave a comment down below, and I'll take that into this video next time around. You can also even leave your comments down in this video below if you like, and I can answer them in the weeks to come. Or even I might even answer a couple of them in my previews if you've got questions of the racing coming up this weekend. Obviously, we've got the Goodwood, the Group 1 Goodwood at South Australia. Got a very nice bet there. It's probably my bet of the month there, so really stay tuned for that. But so if you would like to get any questions around any of those meetings, feel free. I'll be more than happy to try and squeeze them into my preview videos as well. But yeah, get involved as much as you can. I really am looking forward to answering some of your questions at the end of this video. But so we're going to get straight into it. Race number one at Randwick was of course, the Tab Highway race over the 1200 metres. Was won by Tajuri. Nick Olive was a good performance and probably a horse I want to be following because came into this, obviously has only had the couple of race starts now and as just continues to win. So 4 starts for 3 wins now and is putting together, it looks to be quite a nice type, and that was a good win on the pace. Not a whole lot made ground in that race. So, I mean, they did run pretty well on the speed there. Now, Equal Balance was one I gave a chance, and in the end it jumped at 100 to 1 and finished in 4th. So I was pretty disappointed because I was hoping it would sneak in for a place and give anyone that perhaps had something to leech way, because I gave a good push to it first up, and it was a really good performance coming up on the inside rail. And so I'll be looking to follow Equal Balance coming out of this race because I thought that was a really good run. Didn't have a whole lot of luck up there, but all honors with the winner and Ready to Humble and Hellenism, they were all sort of up around the speed. And fortunately for some of the ones that were back in the field, they're not the ones you want to be looking at. Because it's pretty hard to get a big guide on them because they didn't really come into the race. But yeah, all honours with the winner. But I think Eagle Balance could be one you could follow because it was a little bit stiff coming up on that inside rail. It was just held up for certain parts of the race. We move on to race number 2, and it was the Central Coast Mariners 2-year-old handicap over the 1200 metres, and it was won brilliantly by Pelter, who I gave a very big push to as well in my preview. So this is why I do encourage a lot of you who follow me on Instagram and the other social media channels to watch my previews, because I'll give you just that one tip that I think is going to win. But at least on my previews, the reason I do them is because I want to be able to give plenty of chances. So if there's any of you out there that I might tip a favourite, and you might be sitting there going, I don't really like it. I don't want to go into it myself. What do I like as a bit of a roughie? And I'll give a few chances to you. So there's someone like Peltzer, who I'm sure there'd been someone out there that would have liked it because it's quite steady in the market. And I'm a bit disappointed in backing because coming out of that Anders form, I knew that would stand up well because Anders is a quality galloper, and I'll be looking forward to backing Anders next time round now, because I was already going to, but now that Peltzer's come out and won, it really stands up nicely for him now for the Martin Eustace team. But Peltzer was very good on speed. That was a terrific performance, really put pay to him at the right time of the race. But the big eye catcher was Overlord. Missed the start by about 3 or 4 lengths. Absolutely motored up the inside and just made a ton of ground to finish in for second. Was a very, very good performance by him. So Overlord is definitely one you want to be following out of that race. He was terrific. And as for other horses you want to be following, look, Kinloch was just okay. My selection, Ocean Emperor, was very poor. It just wobbled off the turn and got in all sorts. So that was a disappointing run there, but didn't seem to be up to it on the day. Eliza Bill, look, she continues to be quite a handy little mare. She just can't win, which is costing some punters that are following her a bit. Obviously, I was a big follower of her the first 2 starts, and I didn't have her as a chance this time around. I did make a case for her, but I just thought there was a few ahead of her. And Kukaracha was quite good through the line as well. But look, all honours to the winner. The winner was fantastic, and Overlord was probably the black booker of the day as well. Was at Randwick, was absolutely superb, flying home late after missing the start by 4 lengths. Moving on into race number 3, and this was another one that really did kill me. Benchmark 78 fillies and mares race. Blazing Miss, she came out, did it. looking back at it now, I'm so disappointed I didn't back her. She was my second or third pick. Can't exactly remember, but I had her right up there in the numbers, and I knew that she would turn the tables on Lesage. Just had that feeling that because her second up record is so good, and she proved it once again. She was very good, just sitting not far off the speed. She peeled out off the bend and really did put the favourite Lesage away pretty well. And now, Long Bottom was the one I was only finishing for second, so I probably should have done Quinella. That would have paid pretty nice, but even still, look, Long Bottom was just okay. She sort of just battled to the line, nothing too eye-catching or impressive. Free Harder was one that I gave a chance at big odds, and she ran a nice race. She ran home pretty well there. So I might continue to follow her, but look, all honours the winner. I don't think it's going to be anything too flashy to follow, really, because look, some of the ones back of the field were just okay as well. Nothing really made too much ground late. Dunbrody Power might be one that you want to have a look at going forward because it made some good late ground. Soft Yellow was chopped out of it as well. It's a bit of a hard luck story there. Soft Yellow, not sure if it had a one, but you could at least say that it should have been probably in the top three finish. But look, all I was with Blazing Mist. She continues her fantastic second up record. Moving on into race number 4, and it was a very nice performance by Soldier of Love, who again I gave another great push to. This is why it does kill me, because there's just some weeks where I have an on-top selection, I make case for the other ones, and it's always the other ones that seem to come out and win. And Soldier of Love was another one. Again, did so at $8. Celestial Falls was another one that I liked and came out and finished second at $9.50. And she's probably the one I want to follow the most, or because she's obviously a horse that was heading towards the Oaks in spring, and she was one of the favourites of the Oaks before Mark Newman decided not to take her there. Finished third to Jamay in the Ethereal at Caulfield, a Group 3 race there over the 2,000 metres. So I'm really looking forward to seeing her stepping out in trips. So she was very good first up over 1,400. So she's going to be one who want to be following now. She'll be interested to see what Mark does with her, whether she goes up now to the Queensland Racing Carnival there and perhaps targets a distance race there. I think she could pick one off similar to what Fun Fact did last year. So I'm interested to see if that's where she goes from here, or if she targets a race that she can win quite easily once again in New South Wales in the coming weeks. Miss Einstein was a real horror watch for some people, that she was bolting through for a run late and she just got shuffled out, squeezed out of things, and she ended up protesting on Celestial Falls, and it was dismissed, the protest there, which was interesting because when I first saw it, I thought maybe might have been a case to answer. I think in the end, the ending margin was probably the factor there, being 1.8 lengths. Now, Subpoena was my tip of the race and was my best bet of the card, but look, I actually don't think she was that bad a performance, and this is where it'll be interesting because she might step up to a bigger race and she'll go around at big odds, and I think she'll run well because the swoopers came around her. She just got shuffled. She got caught on the inside and just was never able to get that racing room that she likes to do. She usually likes. I was interested that she was taken so far forward in the run. She's obviously, her racing pattern usually is getting back in the field and stomping down the outside with her extravagant action. But she was good though. She did get through the line really nicely. So I forgive her run, and I'll be backing her next time round if she, obviously, albeit if she finds a good enough race that I think is very winnable for her. As for the rest of them, nothing too amazing coming out of the pack. Rancho Notorious unfortunately pulled up in that race, so hopefully all is well with Rancho Notorious. But look, a good win by Soldier of Love, but I did mention in my preview that it was set up for her to win, but I think Celestial Falls the one you want to follow. Miss Einstein was probably a stiff beat, but Subpoenaed was also one that was probably a bit unlucky in the run as well. Moving on into race number 5, we saw the Masked Crusader, like similar with Russian Camel. I've got a question around him, so I won't go too in depth to him, but he was impressive. He proved me wrong. Obviously, I was a big fan of his, and this is where it's interesting that to hear some of my previews sometimes, is because that, while I did back him first up at Bendigo when he won very impressively, I thought that he's got to now come to this effort, this type of field, and win again. He, obviously being at the short odds, he did so again, which is nice, and that's what you want to see from him. I'll be interested though, because a lot of people will take a lot of merit out of that win, and like I said, I'll answer that in the questions later, but I've just got a little bit of reservation. But I still think he's one to follow, obviously, and a lot of people will have, and a lot of people have seen it and would be very well aware of the win and his ability, as he's always been a spruik horse. But I don't know if it was as impressive on the eye, and I'll explain why later on. Cigalis was my pick, finished second. Again, another theme of the day. It was either seconds or fourths for me at Randwick's, but look, it was pretty bit of a sick beat, really. I'm not going to say I would have caught the leader, but in the end, it probably should have finished a bit closer. It just never got out till really late in the race. The Masked Crusader was often gone by then. Miss Seed was okay through the line, but look, Masked Crusader and probably Cigalas, they're the two that I would really want to follow out of that race, the top two. I don't think anything else was extremely eye catching for me. But I guess that Masked Crusader did make a lot of them look pretty second rate in the end. Into race number 6, it was benchmark 78 race over 800 metres, and Batiga was absolutely superb. And I was so frustrated because I was convinced that this horse was going to go into the Gosford Gold Cup. It was nommed and it had a jockey, and it didn't actually have a jockey for this race here. And Gerald Ryan managed to scratch it and take it to this race in race number 6 instead over Love Seed, who was my second best bet of the day. And I was disappointed. As soon as I saw Batiga was lining up in the race in the morning, on the Saturday morning, I thought to myself, yeah, it's going to win. I did mention in my preview once again that, if you line up in this race, it was the one that I wanted to follow. Obviously he's always shown a lot of ability. He's got great form around him, and he was always going to stand up nice in a race like this, and he did so as well, jumping as the second favourite. 4-6 is a good price in the end. Look, Canasta wasn't too bad. Was one of the only leaders that stayed on there. Welsh Legend finished off nice. We got a good run into the race. Lure Me In was very good, eye-catching for me. It was a good run. And Love Seat, I'm going to stick with Love Seat because she was back in the race and she got up on the inside. She did make really good ground late as well. She didn't get a whole lot of racing room. So I forgive her run, and I think that she'll go around at good odds next time around. So we could definitely find her at a price next time around. But look, all honours with the winner. The winner was fantastic, but Batiga, and always had a bit of time for him. I'm very annoyed that he ended up going that race because I was convinced he was going to the tougher race, with obviously the jockey being named in the Gosford Cup and not in this benchmark 78 race. But Gerald Ryan decided to take it to the easier race, and he made the right decision because he came out with the win. But Canasta was quite good for Bjorn Baker. But look, for me, Love Seat was the one to follow there. That was a good performance by her. She was a long way back, and I'll be sticking with her as well as Batiga. Moving on to the Gosford Gold Cup, and was won by another dollar who returned to form. And it's good to see because there's always a horse that showed a bit of ability and just had a couple of bad runs in recent times, but came back to the form that we know it can run. Ilwendo, for me, though, was so impressive, this German galloper, this German import for Matthew Smith, has had him for a little while, and has always been a pretty consistent horse, and they were going so fast out front, but he managed to stick on and keep racing and right through the line, and I thought that was a good performance by him, and considering that he had no right to keep kicking when he did. So I'll give him some good merit out of that performance. Number 13, Il Window. Oliferous was making great ground late. Obviously, he's looking for a bit further than the 2,000 metres, so I like that run there. I'll be sticking with Oliferous going forward. It's definitely probably the one in that race I want to follow the most. But all favours of another dollar. Il Window was good, and the fourth horse, Oliferous, was quite good as well. My tip, Yulon Prince, was just okay. I was expecting a little bit more from him. Obviously, I'm not sure now because he's sort of been around that for sort of 5th to 7th mark now for a couple of races, and he had a second couple of starts back, but yeah, he just doesn't seem to be winning at the moment, so a bit hard to follow now. Moving on to race number 8, it was the Takeover Target Stakes, and Snitz was terrific. That was a great performance because they really went out hard in the lead with Murillo sitting a hot tempo. Stitz was sitting just off Murillo and really found a good kick towards the line. Greyworm was good. I was stunned that Graham didn't find the lead and got so far back, but really got through the line pretty well, along with Redouble and Crack Me Up, so they all were quite good. Deprivers and Tactical Advantage were quite disappointing. I thought they'd be a lot better, to be honest. Obviously, in the end, the two lead horses, particularly Snitz, obviously got on with it, and then Redouble and Greyworm were sitting just in behind the leading pair, so they were obviously had good right to get through the line. But Crack Me Up came from a fair way back, so look, I can't find too many excuses for Deprive and Tactical Advantage, to be honest. They had a chance to come back into the race, I guess, because Crack Me Up went past them, so a bit disappointing from them. But look, Sids was good. Obviously, that was a very tough performance. Greyworm was good once again. He's a very consistent horse, one you want to be following. Crack Me Up was very good from coming from the back to finish 4th. Moving on to race number 9 was benchmark 88. It was won by Grand Piano. He continues its good form, so it's really been a punter's best friend in recent times. Dealmaker in the second was a real eye catcher. Came from A long way back was carrying 59.5 kilos, so fair bit of weight. Obviously, a horse that will be looking for a bit further as well, probably looking for the 2,000 metres now, being at side by Done Deal. And I was quite impressed with Dealmaker's performance there. That was a nice run from him. And the other horse in the race that I did like the Top Prospect and Articus, and also Massaf, who was a horse I did give a bit of a mention in my preview, who I thought would just need a bit further. It was obviously a horse that raced around the 2,800 metres, 2,600 in the UK, and come over here, and that was a good first up performance over a distance range that isn't quite suitable to it. So I'll be definitely following number 6 Massaf, as well as Articus and Top Prospect. They were good through the line. Grand Piano, obviously, you can continue to follow because it just continues to win, and Dealmaker was good for running home into second, but definitely be following Massaf. You could go around at big odds in a very good sort of staying race up in the grades, and it will run really well. So I think that you definitely follow Massaf out of that. Now, moving on now into your questions, that's obviously that's the 3 race meetings done. The other one that I want to look at actually real quick was in Queensland. Obviously, they had a nice Group 3 race up there. Kementari went round, and interestingly, I was asked this a while back into how good he was. I guess if he's still up to this standard. Now, I actually thought that was a good enough race. He's obviously targeting some better sprint races coming up in the coming weeks in the Queensland Carnival. So I'd forgive that run. I thought he was okay. He was wide without cover, and he still sort of got to the line just okay there. So I'd still be sticking with Kementari for any of those out there that love him, and just like I do. Now, moving on now into some of the questions. The first question that I've been given is, do jockeys really need support when they go on the toilet? Now, so just bear in mind, some of these questions aren't exactly racing related, but that doesn't matter. We have a bit of a laugh on this show. Look, obviously I saw a thing during the week. Bill Brown's made a cracking joke on the rush hour on Triple M here in Melbourne. So if you haven't already seen it, go have a look at it. It was a very good joke where he mentioned that look, I won't spoil it. You guys can go and watch it. But look, that's probably a question you have to ask some of the jockeys. I might even ask him in a few weeks. I've got a couple of jockey interviews lined up over the coming weeks. So maybe that's something I'll have to ask them, see if they need some assistance with some of the urinals, or if they have smaller ones themselves. On to the next question. I had it asking of, why did I get 10 placings but no wins? Well, that's punting to 1.0, isn't it? That's unfortunately the way it goes sometimes. Seeing that many seconds of fourths myself, go to bed with nightmares on Saturday nights quite often when we see them. Yeah, it was that type of weekend though. Like I mentioned just previously in the reviewing the Royal Randwick meeting. It really was a case of I found a lot of the horse that I thought would be right at the finish, but in the end, just couldn't get them. They were the ones that I thought would be. I gave them a chance, but I went with something that wasn't as impressive. So I'm looking at the likes of Celestial Falls, who won, and there was a couple others as well. Obviously, Blazing Myths, the stablemate, was another one that I made a good chance for that won. So yeah, it was just one of those ones where I missed the mark, but and it was one of those weekends that hopefully it can turn around pretty soon, and I'm pretty confident it will next weekend, so hopefully we can do that there. Another good question, personally, do you bet in every race, or do you only narrow down on a few each day? Now, that's a fantastic question there. I really, when I saw that one come through, I was quite looking forward to answering that, because I do get asked this question a little bit from some people on social media, and no, I don't bet every race, because there is a lot of meetings that I'll look at and I'll think that it's quite tough. And there might be a race where I have a lot of chances in it, and I'll think, it's a bit tough to find one there. More often than not, I go the ones that I'm most confident on, and that's probably the way you should tackle things. If there's something that you think is either two things, well over the odds, or is something that you just really like and are very confident on, you can take it. Now, I've always said on my previews on this channel, that I always sort of try to look around the favourites, unless the only time I go a favourite is if I'm 100% confident. That's something that you should take when you're punting. You shouldn't go into a horse unless you're 100% confident. And the only other reason that I think you should then back a horse is if it's well over the odds. If you think that, okay, if this horse shows its best type of form, it can win. I have mentioned that a couple of times, like I did with Tangled, who got scratched in the last race, at Randwick. I said if he shows his best form, he should not be a $61 shot. And that was the simple thing too, and that's why I had something a little small each way on him. So I think that's the way to tackle things going into the future, because you have really bad days like we've seen the last 3 weeks where a lot of punters have struggled on the punt. There's been a few pretty rough results, and you don't want to be betting on every single track, every single race meet. You don't want to be doing it because it could get yourself into a bit of trouble. Yes, it can obviously save you as well, because you could be betting at race meets that you wouldn't normally do, and they can save you on the day. But more often than not, you want to keep it responsible and really stick to the things that you're most confident on. It's the best way to do it for me, I find, is just at the start of the day you put on what you like, and then you follow it in. If there's any horse that you think might drift to the market, like there was a few on the weekend that I thought might not get a lot of market support, so I waited till jump time, had to keep an eye on the betting flux, so look at the weight of money going into them as well. You can do that, and then as such from there you can sort of have a look and get a bigger price about them and sort of see which way they're going to go in the market as well. So that's sort of my I guess my suggestion when you're looking to have a bet on on weekends in particular, or even during the week. Try and stick to things that you like and you're really confident on. Like I said, there's often races that pop up for me that I think, gee, that's a really tough field. I'm not going to touch that too much. And there's a lot of meetings during the week in particular. So your Mondays, your Tuesdays, your Wednesday meetings that I look at and I go, gee, there's a tough card today. I still put out my tips regardless, because it's part of the job. It's what you got to do. I want to give tips out to you guys, because in case you want to get on a day, I want to be able to provide you winners if you perhaps are looking to find a couple. So I do put my neck out in the line. I'm not like a lot of other people who just stick to things that they're confident on. I just go with whatever's on no matter how hard the card is. I'll put out my tips regardless. I'll try and find you a few winners. Now, moving on into the next question, and it is very impressive performance by Russian Camelot on Saturday in the SA Derby. How far do you think he can go? Do you think he can win a Melbourne Cup? Now, that's an interesting question, because obviously that has been the first thing that's come to his mind. Now, he's now the favourite of the Melbourne Cup, which is ridiculous. But look, interestingly, that he's a 3-year-old Northern Hemisphere bred horse. So, and we have seen them in previous years come down here and perform as 3-year-olds. So I'll be interested to see if Danny O'Brien does go towards that. Now, he is a colt, so he more than likely will go to start at some point, and I think that they will target a Melbourne Cup. He was going to be going to the UK, but he's instead going towards a Melbourne Cup. I think he's very good, and the reason being, because he was relatively short going into the Derby. I mean, being $4, about a horse that's lightly raced, only having his sixth race start and stepping up to that distance range for the first time. But he did so with such ease, and just the way that he won, it's just. And I actually think that was a good derby as well. I think that, Warning is obviously the Australian Derby winner from the spring, and Dalasan's been a Group 1 performer and been around the likes of Alligator Blood and Super Seth, who were all great 3-year-olds, as we know. So, I mean, I think that's going to be a good derby form, and I think that he definitely, not sure if he can win a Melbourne Cup. It's probably a bit early to say now, but look, if he can find his way, and we've seen it before with these 3-year-old Northern Hemisphere bred horses, and they come across often from the UK and run here first up, and they put in a performance. But obviously, Danny O'Brien, we saw him do it with Val Declare last year. Could he do it with this son of Camelot? I'll be interested to see. Now, the other question was how good did you think of the performance of Masked Crusader? Was it as good as it looked? Um, well, this is what I was mentioning earlier. I think it was a good performance. Obviously, Barry barely touched him, really. He shook him up for a little bit, then just relaxed on him again. So it was a pretty soft win, but don't know about the form of the race. So if he goes into a real tough type of race now up at Queensland or something of the like, he might be spelled from here. I'm not too sure, but I wouldn't say if he goes around the $4 or whatever, I probably wouldn't back him in, because I just don't know about the form of that race. And like I said, Cigars would have finished closer if it had got out, in my opinion. So don't say Cigars would have beat him. I don't think it would have, but would definitely would have got closer and wouldn't have made the win look as arrogant, as good. So I have a bit of reservations on him. I think he's a great horse, and he is a black type to group listed horse in time. But if he steps out that type of grade next up and he goes around at $3-4, I just don't think he'd be worth backing. So that's my opinion of him. So they were the questions for this week. Obviously, feel free to leave some more for the coming weeks. You can either do some for at the bottom of this video for this upcoming weekend. I'll try and answer them in the previews, or you can go back onto the preview videos after the races and you can comment on there. Otherwise, go onto my social media handles and have a look at me on there. But that's the racing review show for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned because I'm going to be uploading video with Sky Thoroughbred Central Form analyst and mounting yard expert Lizzie Jelfs. I'm also in a couple of days going to be uploading an interview with WA Sky Form analyst Brittany Taylor. So really stay tuned for that, because I'm so grateful that both of them made their time to interview me, and they've got a fantastic story and fantastic insights that you really will want to be taking in if you're watching any of my videos. So thank you for tuning in. As always, I really appreciate it a lot. And like I said, I look forward to seeing you in a couple of days, and obviously stay tuned, watch the video, the interviews coming up, and obviously look forward to speaking to you again on Thursday ahead of the Saturday meeting at Goodwood. The Goodwood Handicap, obviously Group 1, really look forward to that. And like I said, I'll give you a bit of a teaser. Probably one of my best bets of the month is coming up in that race. I'm extremely confident of its chances. So look forward to that, and I look forward to speaking to you then.